Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we have a deck list, another deck list profile for you. This is for Maliss, as you can quite clearly see. Now this is similar to the deck I played against Martin's Orcas Arena, which you can also find on the channel. Both testing at the minute for big tournaments. Martin's obviously testing for YCS Birmingham next month, just under a month ago. I'm testing actually for the European Championships. Now I'm not going to YCS Birmingham, just I can't make it with the dates, but I'm helping the other guys test. As part of that, I want to make sure that the deck list I'm helping them to test against is up to scratch, but also making sure that I have a very good list for the European Championships, and I think Maliss is a contender for one of those decks. As a deck I want to try and get better with. So part of my philosophy with decks and with testing is to make sure that the deck I'm playing with is something I'm really confident with and I know the lines really well. So unfortunately the testing video that me and Martin filmed did not work out as well. The camera kind of slipped and filmed only half the board, so that's not really any good to anyone. But we do have the deck list here, so we're just going to get stuck out in. We're going to start off with the main deck first off. Put these over here. So start off for the Maliss package, nothing too fancy. We have 3 White Rabbit, 3 Dormouse, 2 Chassis Cat, 1 Dotscaper. I don't think there's any kind of need to explain these. These are your 1-card starters, 1-card starters, kind of backup starters, and your kind of garnets that you need in the deck. You don't need it, but it is incredibly beneficial to have it in the deck. If you hard draw it, it does kind of suck sometimes, but it's not the end of the world. But the my thinking with the Dotscaper is just the lines it gives you when it's in the deck and you can banish it off Red Ransom is just too good to give up. Besides that, we also have the 1 Code of Soul, which I just like as the 1-of extender. Now this is a slightly different build than what I was previously playing, whereas previously playing the Signet Mining package, and it's nice to be able to search this as an extender. I'm not currently playing Signet Mining in this build, which makes things a wee bit different, so I'm working to see how that changes things going forward, but for now that's what we stick with. We also play the 1 Gold Sark. Again, it's a 1-card combo. You banish the Dormouse and then you do the full combo. You just lose a little bit of extension because this has already been banished. But again, it's not the end of the world, and it's just a good 1-of to have to increase consistency, because this deck does have a little bit of consistency issue. And then we have 3 Field Spell, and then 1 each of the trap cards. And the idea, which is obviously the deck is to loop through all your names on turn 1, set up an unbreakable board, and go from there. And the traps just help accomplish that very, very well, just by helping dodge and targeting effects like Imperm and Veiler. There's nothing really needs explaining here. Maybe the Code of Soul is not played in every deck list, but I think pretty much everything here is kind of set in stone. So that's the Maliss package. And then the other package that I'm playing alongside it today, now I was playing it pure previously, but after testing I've decided to go for a Kashtira engine in the deck. And just the idea behind it is that I would just like some additional pushes beyond hand traps and through disruption, as well as the Kashtira cards are just incredibly good in their own right in simplified game states. So for this we just kept it as minimal as possible. We've gone 2 Fenrir, 2 Unicorn, 1 Birth, 1 Planet, and then the 2 Field Spell Searchers. Now you've noticed I've not included the Terraforming in the Maliss package, I've included it with this. And the reason for that is in the Maliss combo, you kind of want to start, as things currently stand anyway, you kind of want to search your Field Spell through Red Ransom, and you don't really want to have the duplicates. So if I see Terraforming in 99% of situations, I'm searching for Wraiths Off to start the Fenrir Unicorn combos. And the set rotation just as an extra way to beat Imperm, beat things like Evenly Matched and things like that, beat Mulch Armies as well. It doesn't really beat Mulch Army, but it beats the second Mulch Army if they draw into it. So like so your opponent has to have no cards to activate the Mulch Army. So if they activate the first one and then you go set rotation and they draw into a second one, the second one is dead because they now control cards, unless I'm misremembering the text on the Mulch Army cards. So that's just it. Unicorn is a great kind of starter for the deck, or not really starter, but summon Unicorn, search for Birth, normal summon a name, link to Birth, bring back Unicorn, you're good to go. You have that extra body, at all times. It helps you play through Nib a little bit as well, because even if this gets linked off or sent to the grave, you still have burn to bring it back at a later stage. And obviously that's just it. Everyone knows what the Kashtira cards do. I've not tested them in person. I've done hand tests with them on Neuron and on Dolenbeck and stuff like that. So the results are promising. Locals is tonight, so I'll look to see kind of what it works out to be. So that's the Kashtira engine there. And now on to the non-engine, very compact deck. One more engine card, sorry. The one of Chicken Game. Now, you may be thinking, why Chicken Game? And I'll tell you the reason is because when we were doing testing, I was waiting for one more copy of the Maliss Field Spell, and I needed to slot something in, and I found this, and I thought that'd be funny, and I just put it as a joke. And kind of by accident, I discovered it's actually a really good card in Maliss, because obviously you're paying a lot of life points really early on, which means that the protection effect comes into play. It's also a nice card to search off the terraforming when I wasn't running the Kashtira stuff. And yeah, so it's just that extra one draw can sometimes make a big difference, considering you're already drawing like 2 cards off Chessie, 1 card off of White Binder a lot of the time. If you're playing a Lure of Darkness, you can also draw another 2 on top of that. So having the extra draw is really good. It does kind of force your opponent on the back foot to kind of out the chicken game. With certain combos, you can also kind of OTK through it. So the fact that your opponent goes on lower life points during their turn, through battle phase, etc., doesn't really make a difference, because you can get Firewall, Dark Fluids, the Neo Tempest, Terahertz, or whatever it's called, to 8k or more really, really quickly, and it's really easy just to one-shot them. So the protection effect doesn't apply to them, but because your life points are always lower, the protection effect actually does come up quite a bit for you as the Maliss player. It just helps with the grind game a little bit more, surprisingly. It's not a card I would keep long-term, particularly with new support coming out. But it is something I really enjoyed using just by chance, and I decided to keep it in as the 40th card. Non-engine wise, 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, and then 2 Duraswarm, 1 Magnamut. No real kind of surprises here in terms of hand trap lineup. Best hand trap in the game. Really good being able to draw into it, especially on your opponent's turn off something like a White Binder, and just in the main phase, especially if you draw something like an Imperm, which is the other hand trap. If you have a White Binder, it's dead, whereas Veiler's not. I just think these are kind of like 12 of the best hand traps you can possibly run in the deck. Obviously for Mulch Armies, for targeting effects, Duo Drive, Detonator, search this. Really straightforward. Not really much to be said here. And then the last 3 hand traps, just tidy these up a little bit. This is probably the most controversial choice in the deck, because I know this is what people debate on the trade pages and the Maliss pages a lot, is 3 Shifter in the main. Now, my argument for this is that Shifter is the best hand trap in the game, and that includes the Mulch Armies. And the reason I say that is because anytime you see a tier list saying what's the best hand trap in the game, this is always S tier, and it's always a case of, if you can play this card, play this card. It warps the game around it. If you're playing against White Forest, you win the game. If you're playing against any graveyard-based deck, you win the game. If you're playing against Pendulum decks, you win the game. As soon as you see this card. Again, as I said, we did testing videos, me and Martin, with his Orcust Azamina. Instant win. I see this card, I win the game, to the point I had to actually side this and main one of my other hand traps just to make it fair, because anytime I've seen this, it was just game over straight away. It's not impactful in every matchup, but I think it's impactful in almost every matchup, to the point that I don't see a reason not to include it. It hits. I know obviously people say, like, oh, what about a Maliss mirror match? What about Kashtira mirror match? If that's the case, then there's maybe also main and Shifter. Maybe that's dead. Maliss doesn't play phenomenally under Shifter. It definitely plays better than most things, but it doesn't automatically do the same combos the way Kashtira or Flunderees do. Even then, it stops hand traps like Imperm, not Imperm, Veiler. It stops things like Droll, in that sort of situation. It can stop a lot of like hand traps and stuff that needs to hit grave. It stops Fid and Droplets. So those kind of things it's really good against. And also, like as I said, hard scoops a lot of decks just instantaneously. People have been calling for this card to be banned for years. So I think a deck that has the ability to main it should be playing it. The other aspect being that I like the gotcha factor. if you're playing against Maliss, you could pretty reasonably assume that you're going to see Shifter in the side, or in the, at least, and therefore compensate for it with your choices in the side deck. I don't think people are compensating for it in the main deck at the minute. There's a lot of other reasons, but that's kind of the main one there. It's just the utility it has, and it's an easy side out in matchups where it's not impactful. And then the final sort of non-engine of Call by the Grave, and that's just to hit stuff like Lancia or Mulch-Armies where possible, and other hand traps. Any graveyard card, but Mulch-Armies and Lancia is probably the main two there. So that's kind of it for the main deck. Side deck wise, I've just gone kind of streamlined. I do kind of break in this deck from my normal formula of side decking, where I'll not really explain that just now, but side deck wise, 3 Lancia for the mirror match, 3 Nibiru for the mirror match, 3 Crossout Designator for the mirror match, and for stopping these cards where it's been sided in, 3 Ultimate Slayer, and 3 Bigger Eclipse. So go in second cards sometimes, go in first. Simple, clean. Siding patterns are really, really easy in this deck. I can easily side 9 cards with no issue. And I can get another 2 to 3 if I really, really want to. I can side all 15, but I don't need to side all 15 because they're different purposes. This stops, stops to an extent. It stops the Razio stuff. This stops Razio stuff, Synchro Dex, Centurion if someone's still on it. Stops hand traps, and again, mirror match. Also good for Bestial decks if they're playing it, if they want to run Bestials into Maliss. I don't know why they would want to do that, but a lot of people would keep them in just because they're extra bodies on board to try and help build up a board. But yeah, I think the side deck is very straightforward and clean. No real kind of criticisms or commentary there. But we'll wait and see what happens at locals. Obviously, well, not obviously, but we stay in Glasgow, and locals here is always usually quite roguey. A lot of really strange deck choices sometimes. So just remains to be seen how impactful these kind of choices will be. And then just for the extra decks, so to go alongside the Ultimate Slayer, 1 Aggregator, 1 Eggmaster Packbit, and 1 Cybers to Savworm, which obviously go along with the Firewall Dragon Link 5. So there's a bit of double up there in the fact that I'm running these two cards in particular anyway. This also pairs well because of the Cybers monster. I would obviously like a different fusion material for Ultimate Slayer, but this one's getting ran already, so I might as well. But that's pretty much the double up there. Obviously we have the Firewall Dragon and Transcode Talker, just going kind of reverse order. In terms of what may get cut, why not get cut, because this package has potential to get cut depending on how useful it is long term. Firewall Dragon just helps with extension, can operate as an interruption, but not always. Transcode Talker is one I know that a lot of people are not running. My argument for it is that basically it helps the 1 card combo under Lancia pop off a lot stronger. You can summon back from the grave. So you can go, even things like opening a Dotscaper, you can go normal summon Dotscaper, link 1, summon it back, make Splash Mage, summon back Dotscaper, make this, summon back Splash Mage, and then there's a link 4 play into Firewall Dragon, or continue on from there into something else. So it helps in the grind game as well, just to try and recycle cards from grave. Same with Firewall Dragon, help recycle cards from grave and also extend from the hand in occasions as well. So it just depends. I was running Access Code Talker. I usually don't find myself in a position to actually use it. The last few times I've tried to use it, I end up getting Nibiru'd on the Banish. I think it's a very win more card in this deck. You already have enough ways to OTK through Dark Fluid, through just the bodies on boards. I think the utility card and the grind game is much more important. Other ways to OTK, Heart's Cryptor gets huge and can attack like twice by banishing itself. White Binder and Red Ransom. I don't think anyone needs to explain why these cards are in the deck. They are kind of your boss monsters of the Maliss deck. SP Little Knight, IP Masquerena, Splash Mage. Just no need to explain these, just very useful utility cards. Plan B, as it were. And then Splash Mage for the grind game. Then we have Haggard Lizardos, Link Decoder, and Link Rebo. Again, Not a very imaginative extra deck. I think this is very, very standard, maybe apart from like Lingaribo or the Transcode Talker sometimes, but otherwise I think everything here is pretty much what you expect to see. Lingaribo I found can be a little bit useful in dodging things like Imperm, where you can go, if you have like say a Malice name and a Bestial, you can link one into Lingaribo, use a Bestial to banish the name and summon it back, and then use the effect, and Lingaribo can hit the Imperm, provided you don't actually have one of the Malice traps set, or they actually do Imperm you if you have a set. So nothing really, as I say, imaginative here. It is just very straightforward, but I do feel confident in the extra deck. This is kind of the only change that I've really made over the time testing it. And again, just changing a OTK win more card for kind of a utility card there. So we'll remain to see what kind of happens with it. As far as I'm aware as well, I actually looked at this, but I think Transcode Talker can revive the Malice names from the grave, which is also a thing that cannot be underlooked. Because sometimes I found myself when I've got these in grave that it's hard to get them back out of grave without actually banishing them or using a hard revive, whereas being able to go Transcode Talker, revive White Binder, banish these two or one of them or whatever it is, can be a huge utility, and then also gives an attack boost as well. So there's that aspect of it, and yeah, but that's it for the deck profile, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will most likely be filming some of my locals games tonight, so we'll be able to see kind of where my choices were impactful, where they were not impactful, and have a review once we're all done with that. If you guys have any questions, any suggestions, any hints or tips, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching.